I had been on Reverend Jesse's show before, and they have been trying diligently to have me come back. And one of the reasons I did not return to the show is because I believe that Jesse Lee Peterson knows better.
Welcome back. In today's episode, we're watching a heavyweight clash from the Tammy Mack Late Show where the panel is talking about one question. Are there still black sellouts in 2025? We have Dr. Umar Johnson going head-to-head with Jesse Lee Peterson. But off rip, Dr. Umar doesn't hold back. He says point blank period, Jesse Lee Peterson isn't just confused. He's the blueprint for what it means to sell out.
In fact, he would be a textbook definition of a sellout because he is the type of black man who will bend over backwards to absolve the American white power structure of any responsibility for what happens to black people. And like many sellouts, they always ignore or they try to retreat away from acknowledging the role that systemic racism plays in the life of black people. Racism is not only about the individual mistreatment of black people, it is about the systemic mistreatment of black people. See, racism is a system that all white people participate in to disadvantage all members of another group. So you don't opt in, you don't opt out. And members of the target group don't opt in or opt out. But what they can do, as Jesse Lee Peterson has so effectively done in his career, is they can identify with the power structure. They can identify with white racism, and they can carve out a niche for themselves by defending the racism that is attacking black people as opposed to defending black people against that racism. A black man in America who does not stand up for his people and in turn aligns himself with the structure that is eating away at the opportunities of black people can go very far in this country. Senator Tim Scott is an example. Jesse Lee Peterson is an example. And we will continue to create these types of personalities, Sister Tammy, if we don't come up with the code and if the black community doesn't start holding its members accountable for dysfunctional behavior.
So to me, this is where Dr. Umar just made this pure educational. He reminds the panel and the audience that racism is not just about individual mistreatment. It's about systematic resources controls like schools, the courts, banks, police, housing, etc. And Jesse Lee is claiming that black folks, we aren't suffering not because of racism, but because we don't love God. To me, that's not even something even spiritual. That's a religion remix with some denial in it, I guess. And when someone uses the Bible to excuse oppression, you already know what they're doing, trying to make the submission look holier.
The Reverend Jesse, we got soulmates in the chat for you. One from None says, Jesse holds black people accountable. But 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐻 says, Reverend Jesse claims folks don't know God, but he sounds the most judgmental and hypocritical than anybody. What do you say to that? I guess that she's saying hypocritical in a sense of you say you were raised on a plantation or your parents were raised on a plantation, but how can a plantation exist if there were no slaves? So that in itself would be kind of incongruent or hypocritical. What do you say to that?
Once upon a time, there were slaves in America. That is not happening today. And it wasn't happening when I was growing up in Alabama. This idea that slavery is the cause of the lack of morality for black people is insane. It's just another sign of an illogical mindset. Because when I was growing up, the bathroom was outdoors, outside bathroom. I had to work the cotton fields and things like that. But it was the character of the man or the woman that counted. And when I was growing up, black people at that time were known to be men and women of character. Today, black people, not all, but most, are known to be men and women who lack character. The world knows that black people are suffering not because of this phony idea of racism, slavery, systemic racism, and all that crap. They know that black people are immoral, that they come from failing parents, and that they hate everybody and they have no love.
But that's not
Everybody
your
knows
story,
it.
is it,
They're
Reverend?
afraid to tell the blacks.
That's not your story, is it, Reverend Jesse? Is that your story?
No, because I was raised differently. I was raised to treat all in the way that I would like to be treated, to be fair and to be honest, because you're either children of God or children of Satan, and it has nothing to do with the color. And the children of God cannot hang out with the children of Satan because they have their hearts are wicked and they have illogical mindset. The two men that just spoke, it made no sense. But
I'd like for you to
it's
teach me.
illogical. They don't have a logic.
Reverend Jesse, I would like for you to teach me for a moment here.
Yes.
Please break me away from tradition and what I've been taught in the white schools that I've attended that suggest that there was this society in America that wouldn't allow white people and black people to drink from the water fountains. Did the white institutions I attend teach me that wrong, or was that correct? I'm ready to learn from you.
Well, as a matter of fact, when I was growing up, I remember the colors only signs and the whites only signs. But because most black people loved what was right, they loved God, they knew that all white people did not feel that way. It was primarily the white people who belonged to the Democratic Party, and they didn't want blacks to be a part of the Democratic Party. And so that's why the blacks started the Republican Party, because the blacks. So when we dealt with for black only signs, for white only, common sense said it wasn't everybody. It was those who serve evil.
But it was majority of the white people. We can agree with that.
No,
right?
it wasn't. It wasn't the majority of black people. It was a few.
I said majority of the white people.
I'm sorry.
Let's get back on to sellouts. Dr. Umar.
Yes, ma'am. And I would like to respond to him if I may, Sister.
And it wasn't the majority of whites.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dr.
I want to clarify something when we talk about racism. Racism is not an individual personality fault.
It doesn't
of white
exist,
people.
man.
Racism is not about individual personality. Racism is about systemic injustice, systemic bias, systemic disproportionality, systemic discrimination. You do not opt out of
It's dumb.
All white people benefit from and participate in racism. So whether your ancestors owned black people or not is irrelevant. And the reason it is irrelevant, Sister Tammy, is because even if your ancestors didn't own black people, they worked at a job that was created because of the enslavement of black people. So there's no such thing as slavery did not impact my family. Just like in today's America, all white people benefit from the mass incarceration of black people. They benefit from the miseducation of black children. They benefit from the police brutality against black people. So I want to make sure we are clear. Racism is not about individual white people.
But what you
just
said
against
is a
blacks.
lie.
Racism is about the system of racism
That's a
that
lie.
controls opportunities and resources, Sister Tammy. Racism is not about the attitude. It's about the control of resources and opportunities.
Tammy, that is not true. This is why we have to we must get to know ourselves so that we can overcome that fallen state. Dr. Umar is evil for putting out a lie like that lies like that because people are going to believe it.
Let's refrain from calling people names.
Okay. Yeah, he's not telling the truth.
We have to refrain, Sister Tammy, but at the same time,
He is
I
evil.
think it's important that we understand the difference between the Negro and the coon. Sister Tammy, this is a very important distinction that has to be made. The Negro is innocent in his ignorance, Sister Tammy. As Brother Michael said earlier, some people make mistakes against the race unknowingly. If you make a mistake against the race unknowingly, that was a Negro. Negroes are innocent. They think white people are more intelligent. They think Jesus is black because they haven't been taught any better. But a coon knows better. But the coon voluntarily identifies with his oppressor because there is an agenda that he's looking to get filled. And the sad thing about Jesse Lee Peterson is he is too old to be cooning at this point in his life. And the fact that he claims to be a man of God doing the devil's work makes him a total hypocrite.
But Tammy, you know what?
So Dr. Umar made it clear. He says racism isn't about feelings, it's about power as well. It's about the control of the opportunities and resources, from redlining to underfunded schools to mass incarcerations. The ripple effect is still felt and is real. And just from all that, Jesse Lee Peterson is calling Umar evil. Not because he's wrong, but because Dr. Umar didn't sugarcoat it. He says there's a difference between someone who was confused and someone who chooses the oppressor. And with that, he even said that Jesse Lee Peterson is too old at this age in his time in his life. He's too old to be cooning like this. And Jesse Lee Peterson, he about like 130. This man he's up there. And that was just a simple warning. It's basically what I got from it, and I hope you guys got that from this too. That if we don't call out the behavior that weakens our community, we'll keep watching history repeat itself. And with that being said, I'm gonna leave this here. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you guys on the next one.